Colin Cowherd is back on the Caitlin Clark train, and he's back calling out the haters. Now, he wasn't the only one that decided to get in on the action, man, because NBC reporter Kate Scott also called out the WNBA for pretty much snubbing Caitlin Clark.
League rookie sensation, year 2, last year she's hurt. Year 3, okay, her stats are great again. When is she going to start winning at the next level? She has not won a playoff series yet. And so my take is she has her Pippin. Kelsey Mitchell was a player that got some MVP votes.
The conversation has completely shifted from highlight reels to coaching turmoil, disputes in the locker room, and one furious outburst from Colin Cowherd that rocked the sports world. The hype train for Caitlin Clark was meant to be unstoppable. As soon as he insisted on replacing Stephanie White, fans began drawing parallels that nobody wanted to talk about. Is there more going on behind the scenes? Or is coaching the primary focus here? What do humans lack?
Goes out to all of the people saying, no, you guys are clickbaiting. Caitlin likes Stephanie. There is no tension in that locker room. There is nothing going on with the Indiana Fever organization. And at this point, Caitlin Clark's brother had liked some New York Liberty post when fans were stating how they wanted her to go to New York at the time of Sandy Bordello. There has been a lot of growing debate over Caitlin Clark getting out of Indianapolis. Now, this is an attack on the city of Indianapolis. This is an attack on the Fever front office.
Everyone expected Caitlin Clark to face harsh fouls, hostile spectators, and relentless defensive pressure as soon as she joined the WNBA. But nobody expected the Indiana Fever's biggest problem to come from their own sideline.
For a second. So, I'm not locked in on WNBA yet, right? And I see your guy, Strauss, what's his face? Strauss, you know the guy.
Ethan Strauss.
Ethan Strauss. He put out a big article about Caitlin Clark's struggles, and I started looking online like an idiot, right? If you get diagnosed with something, you don't Google it because it's all negative stuff. I start looking up Caitlin Clark, and all these people are saying she's washed, she was overrated, she leads the league in turnovers, okay? No. She's shooting 3 for 16. It's a 2-game sample size when she just missed almost all of last season.
But that's exactly what happened after Colin Cowherd's fierce national television outburst, which abruptly turned an already tense basketball situation into one of the most explosive disputes in women's sports.
Arguably the best playmaker in the league, arguably the second best three-point shooter in the league. I don't know. They seem valuable in Olympic competition, and she's not on the team. But yesterday they also announced the skills competition for the WNBA All-Star team. And she didn't make that either. So you argued she wasn't good for the Olympics. Your argument, though I don't buy it, but it was your argument, women's basketball, that she would be a distraction. So isn't the perfect place to put her in the skills competition? Now what is it? Pettiness, gatekeeping, insular, dumb? They're trying to get her to pay.
When Cowherd openly said that Clark needed a new coach, it went viral in the basketball world because millions of angry fans already believed that there was a major problem with the way the Fever were handling their generational hero.
I just came across some more clips of Caitlin Clark and the coaching staff arguing with each other, but not just like a disagreement, but like high level anger and animosity towards each other. And it happened on multiple occasions in the past game between the Fever and the Seattle Storm. So we've got to talk about this and set things straight. I want you to look at this first clip. It's Caitlin Clark on the bench talking to Brianne January, but it's not your regular conversation between a coach and a player. Caitlin Clark is obviously upset, and she kind of just goes off on.
This discussion exploded so rapidly because every sports fan has the biggest fear when a once-in-a-generation player joins a failing team. Fans can tolerate losing games for a while since rebuilding clubs are expected to suffer. They, however, cannot tolerate the notion that a superstar's genius is being limited by outdated concepts, questionable decisions, or an unchangeable system. Cowherd is the first well-known media personality to publicly voice the worry that has been quietly around the Fever for weeks without softening the criticism. At the center of this maelstrom is Stephanie White, a respected basketball expert with years of experience and a strong reputation around the league. White's accomplishments in mastery of the game are acknowledged by many critics, and she is not viewed as a poor coach. However, the debate over her leadership is no longer centered on her intelligence and work ethic. It is related to fit. Even talented coaches are not always the greatest choice for transformational superstars. As basketball history repeatedly shows, especially when it comes to players whose skills call for an entirely different offensive philosophy. The conversation surrounding Caitlin Clark becomes intriguing because she is an unusual athlete who doesn't fit into the normal basketball systems. Her explosive pace, lengthy shooting range, unpredictable inventiveness, and aggressive offensive mindset instantly change every game she plays. The problem is that in contemporary basketball, teams that are willing to give up control to elite offensive engines are rewarded more and more.
We're all in agreement the Caitlin Clark hate is just out of control at this point. I mean, you got Colin Cowherd getting up there today on the herd saying that the wow factor is over and she needs to win a playoff series when she's literally setting WNBA records every night. Tyrone Johnson saying it was just some Linsanity run. Like, come on, dude, what are we doing? Caitlin Clark could literally sleepwalk into a WNBA game and she still finds herself putting up stat totals that either rival or surpass the guards in WNBA history. Through her first 55 games, she has more points than Diana Taurasi already.
Almost immediately in the beginning of the season, viewers began to perceive signs of conflict. There were moments when Clark barely touched the ball, while being the most dangerous passer and scorer on the field. Occasionally, as less explosive players launched the attack, she lost possession of the ball. At moments when the pace drastically slowed down, one of basketball's most dynamic transition players turned into a spectator within her own attack. Social media users grew increasingly enraged each time it happened because they were unable to understand the Fever's reluctance to fully unleash the star who transformed collegiate women's basketball. Next came the game against the Washington Mystics, which became the emotional center of the entire controversy. Clark struggled for 3 quarters under heavy defensive pressure. Her shots were inconsistent. The offense seemed sluggish, and pundits began preparing the usual overreactions that come with every difficult performance from a famous athlete that enthralled the crowd. Even though Indiana ultimately lost in overtime, Clark's performance demonstrated why she is so well-liked. In just a few minutes, she has the extraordinary ability to completely alter the emotional intensity of a game.
That's like the most unfortunate aspect of Caitlin Clark's game. That the part that truly makes her special, which is actually her passing, not her shooting, and her vision and her ability to create for others. It doesn't, plus minus doesn't really hit. Because again, you need the players around you to be able to hit. So it's just like, her stats are always going to be somewhat misleading. Again, perfect example. Last game, 20 potential assists. 20 potential assists. And it's just like, if the women around her were actually on and could make layups and stuff, we'd have been like, Caitlin Clark just had a 20 assist game.
A crucial post-game moment where the head coach openly praises a star player who has kept the team afloat usually results from that kind of effort. Instead, the post-game news conference served as gasoline for an already roaring inferno. When Stephanie White was specifically asked about Clark's outstanding fourth quarter, fans expected a direct acknowledgement of the individual greatness they had just witnessed. White stressed the team's general cohesion, tenacity, and team spirit rather than concentrating on Clark in particular. White's comments were theoretically accurate because basketball is mainly a team sport, and coaches usually avoid singling out one player excessively in order to maintain locker room chemistry. The coaching staff was accused by supporters of downplaying Clark's greatness, failing to fully embrace her star power, and attempting to force her into a system that did not maximize her abilities. Rather than only calling for tactical adjustments or better spacing, that incident acted as the impetus for Colin Cowherd's criticism to expand throughout national sports. He insisted that she needs a coach whose sole goal is to maximize her unique skills. He compared her situation to the early stages of other legendary basketball careers, when organizations realized that genius could not be managed or controlled within rigid institutions.
Stephanie White the benefit of the doubt at the beginning of the season, but right now it looks like she is sabotaging Caitlin Clark's numbers. She wants to win the way Coach White wants to win, and I'm not saying that just because she took out Caitlin Clark with 8 minutes left in the game, only up by 14, and didn't let her come back. Comebacks happen. We saw that in the Aces game. I'm talking about when she hits a couple three-pointers multiple times in the first quarter and gets taken out within the first 4 minutes like she did this game. If minutes restrictions were important,
the resemblance resonated because basketball fans had already witnessed similar tales. when transcendent athletes enter professional games. Traditional coaching principles and the freedom required to unleash top creativity sometimes collide. While some superstars thrive when given complete control over the attack, other coaches prioritize discipline, structure, and balance. It becomes difficult to strike the perfect balance between organizational structure and individual brilliance. Even though the season is still very early, Cowherd's comments reinforce a notion that the Fever are already under a lot of pressure. Expectations were unrealistic almost immediately, as fans looked to a franchise that had struggled for years before Clark's arrival for immediate success. Every decision feels more important than it would in a normal basketball situation. Because of this pressure, a change becomes controversial. Dysfunction is indicated by a slow offensive possession. A displeased expression conveys the tension in the locker room. The Fever appear the epicenter of contemporary sports culture, which thrives on non-stop discussion each night. The leaked sideline video, which showed Clark and the coaching staff obviously irritated, added to the story's intensity.
Has already set the record. She had another game in which she had at least 20 points and 10 assists. And I have been saying when she broke into the league, people said her comp is Steph Curry. Now, I think stylistically, the way she plays her game has got some Steph Curry. I think, though, in terms of an iconic player, she's more Michael Jordan. So Jordan walked into the NBA. He was a rookie sensation. Year 2, he got hurt. Year 3, he was like the best player in the league, arguably, and he then needed his Pippen, got it in year 4.
In reality, highly competitive athletes inevitably run afoul of authority in tense situations, which leads to frequent emotional interactions between coaches and players in professional sports. But since followers already sense deeper tension, every emotional exchange now feels symbolic. Viewers now watch more than just basketball games. They are searching for indications that Clark's rapport with the coaching staff is deteriorating. Paradoxically, some of the criticism directed at Stephanie White emphasizes how challenging it is to instruct a superstar with Clark's degree of fame. If White encourages team basketball, fans criticize her as suppressing Clark's genius. But because many viewers believe the solution is obvious, the criticism persists. They want the Fever attack to be centered around Clark's pace, shooting gravity, and playmaking. They want her to always have the ball in her hands. They favor fast transitions, aggressive spacing, and a style that reflects the modern development of basketball in place of traditional systems predicated on balanced touches and controlled possessions.
Earl Suits is somebody that pointed it out all last year was her turnovers, and many other people that like to criticize Caitlin Clark and the things she does on a basketball court. But one thing they cannot deny is she's leading all WNBA players as of right now in scoring, and she's on a roll to being the WNBA MVP. Now, there was a poll that came out. She was going to be second behind Aja Wilson, winning his MVP. Now, they got to go and redo the whole damn thing.
The intriguing part is that this disagreement could have an impact on the franchise's future. If White can adapt and Indiana begins to win consistently, the criticism will soon fade, and this whole situation might seem like an early season overreaction fueled by internet hysteria and television drama. However, if Clark's problems continue and he continuously expresses dissatisfaction with the system, criticism from supporters and the media will become inevitable. Cowherd's comments were crucial. Because of this, his outburst transformed a heated internet discussion into a civil national sports discussion. Every setback is fuel, and every success is confirmation. The Fever are currently in a position where basketball isn't the only topic of discussion. Public opinion, media pressure, fan expectations, and superstar management are all at odds with one another. That combination may either set the stage for future success or indicate the beginning of organizational instability, depending on how the franchise responds. Ultimately, the most important truth hidden beneath all of this drama is that everyone is rooting for the same outcome. Fans want Caitlin Clark to succeed because she is one of the most exciting athletes the sport has ever seen.
You're back. No. I'm not talking about because the threes are falling. I knew that would happen. I'm saying I'm glad you're back because that psycho from Iowa is back. The one saying, give me the ball is back. The one who ain't trying to lose is back. Not the one who's trying to suppress her game because that's what her coach wants. And the one who can't hype the crowd up because the assistant coach is too busy trying to grab her arm and she's her mom and shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about that killer that we all fell in love with. The one that we followed from college to the WNBA. She's back, and she better stay here. She better stay here. I get it. You're new to the WNBA. You got a coach. You should respect your coach. Check it out, B. Stephanie White is an op as far as I'm concerned. She's coming.
The WNBA wants her to be successful because of the enormous attention her popularity has brought to the league. The Fever want her to be successful because transformational superstars change franchises forever. Stephanie White probably wants the same thing since coaches are judged on a performance. And Clark gives Indiana its best chance to become relevant again at the highest level. The challenging aspect is figuring out the best course of action before the pressure gets too great. This conflict may be disregarded in the formation of a future dynasty if Indiana completely embraces Clark's advantages and begins to prevail. If confusion, irritation, and inconsistent offensive philosophy continue to dominate the debate, the criticism of Stephanie White will only intensify with each passing game. And whether traditional coaching techniques can endure in an era where offenses powered by superstars are becoming more and more common. In the upcoming months, the future of the Indiana Fever and trajectory of one of the most important careers in women's basketball history may be determined. The scenario is made more complicated by the fact that Caitlin Clark is not simply another talented rookie trying to make a name for herself in the game.
If I told you Caitlin Clark's biggest obstacle isn't an opponent or a different team, but it's actually her own coach, Stephanie White, we're 4 games into the season, and there is a clear philosophical difference with Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White and how the offense should look. And it looks like Stephanie White is just trying to micromanage and put a cap on Caitlin Clark and what she could do offensively. Even when Stephanie White has the chance to praise her best player, it's the rare occasion where coach is kind of hesitant to shout out their best player. It's a weird dynamic between the two.
The problem for Stephanie White is that her fans are no longer judging her solely on the basis of her wins and losses. They are assessing whether she seems to be emotionally invested in Clark's rise to prominence as the face of the franchise. Many people now believe that there is a disconnect between the Fever's biggest star and the surrounding system. In contemporary sports, perception is nearly as significant as results. Whether it's fair or not, Clark is subject to unparalleled expectations in women's basketball, and that impression grows with every game. Fans don't like this team's conservative style of play. They want pace, daring passes, transition assaults, and deep threes. People don't watch Fever games because they want to play safe basketball. They are keeping an eye on Clark because he represents uncertainty. She represents the possibility of something strange happening from a distance of 30 feet with 2 seconds left on the shot clock. For many fans, attempting to channel that passion into intentional, controlled possessions is like buying a race car and refraining from exceeding 30 miles per hour. Meanwhile, Colin Cowherd is sparking discussion because his comments reflected the thoughts that millions of people were already harboring. He said more than just that White is a poor coach. He said that companies ought to be able to accommodate the skills of many generations.
Sometimes you got to learn how to read the room. Sometimes you have to learn how to read the room and observe what the hell is going on. You also have to have a level of self-awareness of, hey, we're clearly not that good at our damn jobs. This thing does not stop at Stephanie White, Brianne January getting crashed out on because you deserve it. Don't you ever get in the GOAT's way. You're talking crazy. Y'all grabbing a girl when she's celebrating last season, grabbing Caitlin Clark. Who the hell y'all think y'all is? Y'all came to her team. She didn't go over there to Connecticut where the hell y'all, you know what? Don't worry about it.
This is the exact reason why comparisons to athletes like Stephen Curry and Michael Jordan are so common. Because their teams eventually realized that individualism shouldn't be restricted. These athletes were successful. It should be improved. Soon after teams fully embraced who they were, champions emerged. Fans are now wondering if Indiana is delaying that realization by trying too hard to maintain equilibrium instead of letting their hero run amok. However, there's another side to this debate that is occasionally disregarded in the midst of the social media frenzy. It is important to remember that the Fever season is still relatively new, despite the widespread alarm around it. The most fascinating thing about the entire issue is that the season still feels like the start of a much larger saga. Whether this tension would ultimately lead to greatness or collapse because of irrational expectations is impossible to predict. Everyone knows that the basketball world is now closely monitoring every possession, because a team is usually forever changed when a highly scrutinized coach and a generational superstar battle under such extreme circumstances.